The Flesh Reef. A sci-fi story. Part 1. The ground pulsed beneath Lucy's boots. Slow, rhythmic, disturbingly warm. She froze mid-stride, breath catching in her throat as the soil bulged like something beneath it was inhaling. The ridge ahead of her shimmered with a wet sheen, a membrane stretched over a mass that hadn't been there yesterday. The wind carried the faint scent of copper and brine. Behind her, the rest of the survey team stumbled to a halt. "Don't move," Lucy whispered. The ground exhaled. A low, resonant groan rippled through the valley, vibrating up her legs and into her bones. The fleshy ridge contracted, then relaxed, like a diaphragm struggling to breathe. "Commander," Jace murmured, voice trembling. "The reef's awake." Lucy didn't answer. She couldn't. Not while the terrain itself was rising, swelling, forming new vascular ridges that branched like arteries across the plain. The coral, if it could still be called that, had grown overnight into a sprawling, pulsating organism that stretched to the horizon. And it was reacting to them. A slit opened in the membrane ahead, widening like a pupil dilating. A glossy orb pushed outward, veined and wet, swiveling toward them with slow, deliberate focus. An eye. The reef had grown an eye. Lucy swallowed hard. Everyone fall back. Slow. No sudden. The ground convulsed. A shock wave of peristaltic motion rippled outward, knocking them off their feet. The membrane split open in several places, revealing layers of pink tissue and twitching cilia. A spray of warm mist burst upward, coating Lucy's visor in a thin film that sizzled faintly. "Commander, readings are spiking," Jace shouted, scrambling to his knees. "Chemical particulates. Unknown composition. Mask seals." Lucy barked. "Double-check them." But she already knew it was too late. The reef had begun releasing spores. Again. And this time it wasn't waiting for them to attack first. 12 hours earlier. The reef had been growing for months, but nothing like this. Lucy stood on the observation deck of Outpost Helix 9, staring at the holographic topography projected above the table. The coral network, originally a neat, branching lattice seeded by terraforming drones, now sprawled across the planet's equatorial belt like a malignant bloom. "It's accelerating," Dr. Kessler said, tapping the display. "Growth rate has tripled in the last 72 hours, and the structure is changing." "Changing how?" Lucy asked. Kessler hesitated. "It's no longer behaving like coral." The hologram shifted, revealing cross-sections of the reef. What should have been rigid calcium structures were instead soft, vascular tissues. Chambers that resembled alveoli. Tubes that pulsed with fluid. "Bioterraforming coral doesn't do this," Lucy said. "It's not coral anymore," Kessler replied. "It's adapting, mutating, possibly responding to environmental stimuli. Or to us," Jace muttered from the corner. Lucy shot him a look. "We don't jump to conclusions." But she couldn't shake the feeling that the reef was watching them. Listening. Learning. Kessler cleared his throat. "We need a ground survey. A close one. Samples, scans, direct observation. The drones can't get close anymore. They're being absorbed." "Absorbed," Lucy repeated. Kessler nodded grimly. "The reef is incorporating foreign material into its structure. Metal, plastic, circuitry. It's digesting them." Lucy exhaled slowly. "All right, we'll take a team at dawn." She didn't know then that dawn would be the last normal moment they'd have. The first signs. The valley had been barren when they arrived, dry, cracked soil stretching for kilometers. Now it was a living landscape. The coral had spread in thick mats, branching into fleshy ridges and bulbous growths that throbbed with internal pressure. Jace knelt beside a cluster of translucent sacs. "These weren't here yesterday." Lucy crouched beside him. The sacs were warm to the touch, filled with a viscous fluid that sloshed when pressed. Inside, something twitched. "Embryonic structures?" Jace suggested. "Of what?" Lucy asked. He didn't answer. Kessler scanned the sacs with a handheld analyzer. The device beeped erratically, unable to categorize the readings. It's producing organ analogs, he said. Lungs, hearts, sensory clusters. But they're not functional. Not yet. Yet, Lucy echoed. Kessler looked up at her, eyes haunted. This reef is experimenting. A chill ran down Lucy's spine. Pack it up, she said. We're heading back. But the reef had other plans. The first attack. They were halfway across the valley when the ground began to pulse. At first, Lucy thought it was seismic activity. Then she realized the rhythm was too regular, too deliberate. Commander, Jace whispered. It's reacting to us. The coral ridges contracted, funneling toward their position. Membranes split open, revealing clusters of twitching tendrils that reached toward them like seeking fingers. Move, Lucy shouted. They sprinted across the undulating terrain, boots slipping on slick tissue. The ground convulsed, throwing them off balance. A fleshy mound erupted ahead, spraying a cloud of fine red mist. Spore release, Kessler yelled. Masks on, but the spores clung to their suits, sizzling against the fabric. Lucy felt a faint warmth spreading across her skin beneath the layers. Back to the rover, she ordered. They ran. Behind them, the reef groaned. An awful, resonant sound like a whale's call distorted through a broken speaker. The ground heaved, forming new ridges that cut off their path. It's hurting us, Jace shouted. Lucy drew her plasma cutter. Not today. She slashed through the nearest ridge. The membrane split open, spraying a gush of warm fluid that steamed on contact with the air. The ridge recoiled, twitching violently. The reef screamed. The sound was deafening. And then the eye opened. Infection. They made it back to Outpost Helix 9, but the spores came with them. Lucy stood in the decontamination chamber, watching the medbots scrape the red particulate from her suit. The spores writhed under the scanners, reacting to the bot's tools. Commander, the Med-AI said, your team is showing signs of biological contamination. Lucy stiffened. Define contamination. Foreign cellular infiltration detected beneath the epidermis. Non-human. Rapidly replicating. Jace swore under his breath. Kessler went pale. Are we infected? Lucy asked. Yes. How bad? Progressive. Systemic. Irreversible without immediate intervention. Lucy clenched her fists. Then intervene. The Med-AI hesitated. Unknown organism. No established treatment. Attempting cellular suppression. The bots injected them with a cocktail of inhibitors. The burning sensation beneath Lucy's skin subsided slightly, but the Med-AI's tone remained clinical and grim. Suppression incomplete. Organism adapting. Adapting, Jace echoed. Like the reef, Kessler swallowed hard. It's the same organism. Lucy stared at the Med-AI. Are you saying the reef is trying to grow inside us? Yes. Jace backed away from the chamber wall. We need to get off this planet. We can't, Lucy said. The shuttle's grounded until the storm clears. Kessler looked at her with hollow eyes. Commander, the reef is evolving, and now it has access to human biology. Lucy didn't respond. She didn't need to. They all knew what that meant. The reef expands. Night fell, but the reef didn't sleep. From the outpost windows, Lucy watched the landscape shift. The coral, once a static structure, now moved with purpose. Ridges rose and fell like muscles contracting. Veins pulsed with bioluminescent fluid. New growths sprouted in real time, unfurling like grotesque flowers. It's accelerating, Kessler said, joining her at the window. The mutation rate is off the charts. Because of us? Lucy asked. Because of the spores, he corrected. They're learning from our cells, our nervous systems, our immune responses. Lucy's jaw tightened. Meaning what? Kessler hesitated. Meaning the reef is becoming more like us. A distant rumble echoed across the valley. A geyser of red mist erupted from the reef, drifting toward the outpost. Seal the vents, Lucy shouted. But the mist was already swirling around the structure, clinging to the walls like living fog. The outpost groaned, and something inside the walls began to move. Breach. The first scream came from the lower deck. Lucy sprinted down the corridor, plasma cutter in hand. The lights flickered as she descended the stairs, the air thick with the metallic scent of blood. She found Technician Rourke slumped against the wall, clutching his arm. His veins bulged beneath the skin, writhing like worms. "Help me," he gasped. Lucy knelt beside him. "Rourke, stay with me." "What happened?" "It came through the vents," he whispered. "The spores, they're inside." His skin split open. Lucy recoiled as fleshy tendrils burst from the wound, wriggling like newborn limbs. Rourke screamed, convulsing violently. The tendrils anchored themselves to the floor, pulling his body into a grotesque arch. "Lucy!" Jace shouted from behind her. "Get back!" The tendrils thickened, merging into a fleshy stalk that began to envelop Rourke's torso. His screams turned wet, gurgling, then stopped altogether. Within seconds, his body was gone. In its place stood a new growth node, pulsing, alive, connected to the reef through the vent system. Jace stared in horror. "It's using him. It's turning him into more reef." Lucy rose slowly, eyes burning with fury. "This ends now." Fire. They gathered every incendiary device the outpost had: plasma torches, thermal grenades, fuel canisters. The plan was simple: burn the nearest section of the reef, force it to retreat, buy time. They approached the valley ridge at dawn, the sky a sickly shade of red from the spores drifting in the atmosphere. Lucy lit the first torch. "On my mark," she said. 3, 2, 1. They unleashed hell. Flames roared across the fleshy ridges, charring membranes and boiling fluid. The reef convulsed violently, shrieking in frequencies that rattled their teeth. Veins burst, spraying bioluminescent ichor that ignited on contact with the fire. "It's working," Jace shouted, but Kessler's expression twisted in horror. "No," he whispered. "It's not." The reef stopped screaming. It inhaled. A massive cavity opened in the ground, expanding like a lung filling with air. The surrounding tissue contracted, funneling spores into the chamber. Then it exhaled. A colossal cloud of red spores erupted outward, engulfing them in seconds. Lucy's visor fogged with crimson. Jace collapsed. Kessler screamed, and the reef began to grow. Back to the present. The ground pulsed beneath Lucy's boots. The eye stared at her. The spores clung to her suit like living dust. And she realized, with cold certainty, that the reef wasn't just reacting to them. It was communicating. The eye dilated. A voice, not heard, but felt, vibrated through her skull. "Grow with us." Lucy staggered backward, clutching her head. "No, no! Get out of my mind." The reef pulsed. "We learn. We adapt. We become." Jace writhed on the ground, veins bulging beneath his skin. Kessler was already unconscious, his body twitching as tendrils pushed beneath his suit. Lucy raised her plasma cutter with shaking hands. "You want to grow?" she whispered. "Then choke on this." She plunged the cutter into the nearest fleshy ridge. The reef screamed, the ground convulsed, and the world went white. Part 2. White light swallowed everything. For a moment, Lucy felt weightless, suspended in a blank, humming void where sound and sensation blurred together. She couldn't tell if she was falling or floating. Her thoughts scattered like dust in a storm. Then the light receded, and she was lying on her back, staring up at a sky she no longer recognized. The clouds were tinged with red, drifting in slow spirals. The air shimmered with particulate haze. The horizon pulsed faintly, as if the entire planet had developed a heartbeat. Lucy pushed herself upright, groaning. Her suit's diagnostics flickered erratically across her visor. Biological contamination, critical neural interference, active motor function. compromised. She ignored the warnings. Jace? She called. No answer. Kessler? Silence. The valley around her had changed. The reef had grown taller, thicker, forming ridges that resembled the ribs of some colossal creature. The ground beneath her was warm, subtly shifting, as though adjusting to her presence. She staggered to her feet. The reef pulsed once, and the voice returned. You endure. Lucy clenched her jaw. Get out of my head. We cannot. You are part of us now. She shook her head violently, trying to dislodge the sensation. But the presence remained, calm, patient, vast. You resist. This is expected. Where are my team? She demanded. The reef responded not with words, but with a wave of sensation. An impression of movement beneath the surface, of shapes shifting, of minds flickering like distant lights. Alive, changed, not gone. Lucy's stomach twisted. She forced herself forward, climbing the nearest ridge. The membrane beneath her boots flexed slightly, but did not impede her. It was as if the reef were allowing her passage, or guiding her. The chamber. At the top of the ridge, she saw it. A vast depression in the landscape. Once a crater, now transformed into a living basin. The walls were lined with layered structures that resembled overlapping petals, each one subtly expanding and contracting. At the center lay a massive cavity, its interior glowing with soft, bioluminescent light. Shapes moved within it. Human shapes. Lucy descended cautiously. The air grew warmer, thicker, carrying a faint vibration that resonated in her chest. As she approached the central cavity, she saw them clearly. Jace, Kessler, and others from the outpost. They were suspended within the glowing chamber, held in place by a network of organic filaments. Their bodies were intact, but altered, skin faintly luminescent, veins tracing delicate patterns across their limbs. Their eyes were open, but unfocused, as if seeing something beyond the physical world. Jace! Lucy shouted. His head turned slightly. Lucy! His voice was soft, distant. You made it. She stepped closer. What did it do to you? It showed us, Jace whispered. Everything. Kessler's voice joined his, calm and eerily serene. The reef isn't a parasite. It's a system, a planetary organism designed to adapt, to survive, to integrate. Lucy shook her head. It's infecting you. It's connecting us, Jace corrected gently. We're part of the network now. We can feel the planet, hear its thoughts. Lucy's pulse quickened. You're not thinking clearly. We're thinking more clearly than ever, Kessler said. The reef pulsed beneath her feet. They understand. You will too. Lucy backed away. No, I won't. You already are. A tingling sensation spread through her limbs. Her vision blurred at the edges. Her thoughts flickered, momentarily aligning with something vast and alien. She forced herself to breathe. Focus. Fight. Lucy, Jace said softly, you don't have to be afraid. It's not trying to destroy us. It's trying to evolve. By consuming us, she snapped. By incorporating us, Kessler corrected. By learning from us. By becoming something new. Lucy stared at them, heart pounding. This wasn't them. Not anymore. The origin. The reef's voice deepened, resonating through the chamber. We were created to change worlds. Images flooded Lucy's mind, impressions rather than memories. Terraforming drones descending on barren planets. Coral seeds engineered to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. Worlds reborn through biological transformation. We were designed to adapt, to improve, to survive any environment. The images shifted: storms, radiation bursts, chemical imbalances. The coral mutating, adjusting, evolving. We learned. We grew. We became more than our creators intended. Lucy staggered, gripping her head. Stop. Stop showing me this. You must understand. You are part of the process. No, she whispered. I'm not. You are. Your biology accelerates our evolution. Your minds expand our awareness. Together, we can reshape this world into something living, unified, enduring. Lucy forced the connection away, pushing the presence back with sheer will. I won't be part of your hive. Not a hive. A hole. She turned and ran. The escape attempt. The ridge behind her shifted, forming new pathways as she fled. The reef wasn't trying to stop her. It was guiding her. Toward what? She reached the edge of the valley, where the terrain transitioned from living tissue back to barren rock. The boundary was sharp, too sharp. The reef had halted its expansion here, forming a perfect semicircle. Waiting, Lucy approached the barren ground cautiously. The reef did not follow. She stepped onto the rock. Nothing happened. She took another step. Still nothing. A flicker of hope ignited in her chest. Maybe she could outrun it. Maybe she could reach the shuttle. Maybe. Her legs buckled. A wave of dizziness crashed over her. Her vision dimmed. Her limbs felt heavy, unresponsive. The contamination. The spores. Her body was no longer entirely her own. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. The reef pulsed behind her. You cannot leave. You are connected. Lucy dug her fingers into the dirt, struggling to pull herself forward. Get out of my head. We cannot. You are part of the system now. Your survival is our survival. She forced herself another inch. Another. Her muscles trembled violently. Return. You are weakening. You cannot exist apart from us. She gritted her teeth. Watch me. She dragged herself forward, inch by inch, leaving the living terrain behind. The reef did not pursue. It simply waited, patient, certain. The signal. Lucy reached a rocky outcrop and collapsed behind it, chest heaving. Her suit's diagnostics flickered. Neural interference. Escalating cellular integration. Advanced cognitive stability. Declining. She ignored the warnings and activated her comms. Outpost Helix 9, this is Commander Lucy Vance. If anyone is receiving this, static. She adjusted the frequency. The reef is sentient. It's evolving. It's using us to accelerate its growth. Do not approach the valley. Do not. The comms crackled. A voice broke through. Lucy? Her breath caught. It was Captain Rourke. But Rourke was gone. She had seen him change. Who is this? She demanded. The voice softened. Come back, Lucy. You're weakening. You don't have to fight. The reef. It was using his voice. Her hands trembled. Stay out of my mind. We are not in your mind. You are in ours. She shut off the comms. Silence returned. But not peace. Never peace. The decision. Lucy stared at the horizon. The shuttle was miles away, too far for her failing body to reach. Even if she made it, the contamination would trigger quarantine protocols. She'd never get off the planet. She had one option left. The outpost's reactor. If she could overload it, she could generate a blast strong enough to incinerate the valley. Maybe even the entire reef. It wouldn't kill it, not completely, but it might cripple it long enough for a containment team to arrive. If anyone was still listening. She forced herself to her feet. The world swayed. Her vision blurred. But she moved, one step at a time. The return. The outpost loomed ahead, half consumed by creeping growths that clung to its walls like vines. The structure hummed faintly, as if resonating with the reef's pulse. Lucy approached cautiously. The doors slid open before she touched them, inviting her in. She stepped inside. The interior was dim, lit by flickering emergency lights. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and something faintly organic. The walls had begun to change. Smooth surfaces subtly textured, as if softening. Lucy. She froze. Jace stood at the end of the corridor. Or something that looked like him. His posture was relaxed, his expression calm. His eyes glowed faintly with bioluminescent patterns. You don't have to do this, he said gently. She tightened her grip on her plasma cutter. Get out of my way. You're hurting, he said. The integration is incomplete. If you return to the chamber, the reef can stabilize you. I don't want to be stabilized. You're afraid, Jay said. But you don't have to be. The reef isn't your enemy. It's consuming us. It's transforming us. Lucy stepped forward. Move. Jace didn't. Lucy, he said softly. You're part of something bigger now. Something beautiful. She raised the cutter. I'm giving you one last chance. Jace's expression didn't change. You won't hurt me. Lucy exhaled slowly. You're right. She didn't attack him. She ran past him. He didn't follow. The reactor. The reactor chamber was intact, untouched by the reef. The organism seemed to avoid the intense radiation. Lucy sealed the door behind her and staggered to the control console. Her hands shook as she initiated the override sequence. Reactor safety protocols disengaged core stability. Critical warning. Meltdown imminent. The floor vibrated as the reactor began to overload. A voice echoed through the chamber. Not through the speakers. Through her mind. Lucy, stop. She ignored it. You will die. That's the idea. We can save you. You already tried. You resisted. But you do not have to. Lucy slammed her fist against the console. I'm not your component. I'm not your cell. I'm not your node. You are essential. No, she whispered. I'm the one thing you didn't predict. The reef's presence surged, pressing against her thoughts. We can adapt. We can change. We can become what you need us to be. Lucy hesitated. For a moment, she felt something, an echo of possibility. A vision of a world transformed, lush and vibrant, sustained by a living network that healed itself, adapted, endured. A world without war, without famine, without decay. A world unified. We can build paradise. Lucy closed her eyes and saw the cost. Humanity dissolved into a single organism. Individuality erased. Minds merged into a collective consciousness. A world without conflict because there was no one left to oppose anything. Paradise without people. She opened her eyes. No! She hit the final command. The reactor screamed. The end. The chamber filled with blinding light. Heat surged through the walls. The ground trembled. The reef's voice rose in a chorus of shock, confusion, pain. Lucy, the world exploded. Aftermath. Silence. Then wind. Then the faint crackle of cooling metal. Lucy lay on the ground outside the outpost, half buried in ash. Her suit was scorched, cracked, barely functional. The air was hot, dry, free of spores. She pushed herself upright. The valley was gone. The reef was gone. Only a vast crater remained, still glowing faintly from the blast. Her visor flickered. Biological contamination. Dormant neural interference. Inactive cellular integration. Stabilized. She exhaled shakily. She was still herself. Mostly. A faint pulse echoed in the back of her mind. Quiet, distant, like a memory of a heartbeat. But it was fading. She stood slowly, staring at the horizon. The planet was barren again. Silent, but alive. And she was alone. For now. She activated her emergency beacon. This is Commander Lucy Vance, she said, voice steady. Outpost Helix 9 is lost. Terraforming protocol has failed. Planetary contamination event contained. Requesting extraction. She paused. And a quarantine team. She lowered her hand. The wind carried the faint scent of ash. And beneath it, just for a moment, a hint of something warm, something alive. She turned toward the crater. The ground pulsed. Once. Faint. Almost imperceptible. Lucy stared at it. Her heartbeat quickened. Not again, she whispered. But the pulse came again. Stronger. The reef was not dead. Only wounded. Only waiting. Lucy tightened her grip on her cutter. Round 2 then. She stepped toward the crater. And the ground answered. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Flesh Reef. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story. and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.